Over here on this shelf is where we keep all of our tubes that have not yet been tested. So as you can see, everything we try to keep relatively clearly labeled. Here's where they start when they come out of stock from the main inventory. So take this 12AX7 for example. We'll take this and we move on over to the burn-in area. And these tubes, as you can see, go right over in here like this. And this is where they stay for anywhere between 5 hours to several days, depending on how often we need to be changing them up. They have the power supplies right up here on the top for these jigs down here. And what it does is it just runs current through the tubes so that they burn in, which basically we do to make sure that it won't fail immediately once it goes into a unit. After they've been here, it moves over to these other sections. Meaning this desk right here. We have these programs that were written many years ago that are basically used for testing these tubes. So noise ratings and current draw from driver tubes to output tubes to input tubes on the other jig over there. And this is where they go after they have burned in. This is where we rate them to decide which pieces of gear we can actually use them in. Because in some cases, while a tube may be quiet enough or have high enough gain to be able to be used in one piece of equipment, the gain might not be low enough for another type. We use them for various pieces of equipment depending on the gain of the tube. We try to use as many as we can, and the ones that we do not use go back over onto the shelf on the other side, which is our reject shelf. We eventually will sell those, and just because they're not good enough for us doesn't mean they're not good enough for other applications. Over here, we have the other part of the tube testing area. So we have our settings over here on the machine, just so we know what kind of tube is on there. These settings change which pins allow what voltages to go through where the heater pins are, where the audio comes through, etc. And then with this one, this mode switch tests for either noise. If the noise is below 25, it's considered a gold rated tube, which would be eligible for use in our microphones. With the microphones, they have to undergo another test, which actually is with one of these right here. This mic adapter switches the order of the triodes inside the tube. So basically we test one half of it on this machine here, and then we plug the tube in to the top of this right here and put it back on. And what that does is it reverses the triode order and allows us to look at the gain on the other side. Now in this case, this one has a very noisy other half, so we wouldn't be able to use it in a microphone. But since the first half is good, we can still use it in any of our microphone preamps or several other pieces of equipment which only use one half, so the noise on the other side really doesn't matter. These are older Manley amplifiers which you may recognize, 50-watt monoblocks, 35-watt monoblock, and they on the inside are very, very similar to our normal amplifiers, except we've modified them so that rather than being able to bias the tubes from these bias points on the front, you're actually reading the bias from it and it's going into our computer over here. So you can check the current draw of the tubes and make sure that they're not pulling too much or too little. And you can see how they come up with these numbers here. We also use this, with the numbers we get from this, we use it to match tubes for specific sets of amplifiers. So for example, if we need 10 KT90s, for a large power amplifier, we'll be able to match them with their current draws so that the amplifier circuit will be balanced the whole way through.